RWS, or Real World Strategies, is a very unique undertaking by civil society organizations. It actually started as a project of the Global Campaign for Education, together with Education International, and this was funded by the Dutch government. But from a near project, it was rolled out in 3 regions of the world: Africa, Asia, and Latin America.
Education is a global issue. International policies affect the funding in education, but also the contents in education, the outcome in education. And we are living in a globalized world, a globalized economy. We cannot ignore that the level of knowledge, the level of information, or the quality of knowledge and information has to have some kind of universality in it. And that's why it is necessary that the countries are connected with some global campaign. The national coalitions needed that there should be a strong international campaign. But on the other hand, we cannot be successful as a global campaign until and unless we have a strong national civil society and national civil society coalitions.
Well, one of the key strategies identified in the Dakar Framework of Action was the need to mobilize strong civil society participation in the development of policy. It was very much highlighted in the conversations in Dakar that in order to achieve the goals and targets set collectively by the international community, it would be important to involve key stakeholders, and that included teachers' unions, civil society organizations, NGOs.
We note that education is one of the most important factors that determines human capabilities and quality of life. Unfortunately, government and donors are not giving adequate attention to education, even if there is clear and worldwide recognitions about the importance of education for basic human functioning, for the MDGs, and to achieve, better quality of life. And this is something which is, we look at this as a very important mission of the Real World Strategy. Our mission is to ensure that education is given its due attention.
Most important elements for effective lobbying consist of 2 things. One is the mass mobilization. Second thing is actual lobbying efforts for the government, particularly decision makers. When you talk about decision makers, it's not only the government officials, but also the government officials can be influenced by some other people, such as a member of the parliament, media, or the private companies too.
The real world strategy is a realistic strategies to accomplish the common concern or the common needs, demand of the marginalized peoples living in this world.
Real World Strategies program, I think, take the important role of initiating the Education Network for Justice as a coalition, as a solid coalition, starting from introducing this education for all perspective.
Well, I believe that the Real World Strategies program should continue to support organizations such as PN.
Different sectors, people joining hands together, collectively strengthening the capacity of coalitions.
Create a movement which would ultimately facilitate the right to education movement across the.
We were able to use the spaces that was created within the RWS nationally, sometimes regionally, and as well as globally, to promote what the main policy asks of our movement, which was the rights of the most marginalized children, the hard-to-reach categories of children, child laborers.
The RWS program helped drive that point home. Very soon they see the need for research. Very soon they see the need for better policy analysis. Soon they see that they have to have writing skills. Then they have to know the media outlets. They see they need public relations skills. They see that they need to develop their confidence sitting at a meeting with the heads of the public service departments and the minister.
I think there'd be significant gains, particularly in financing, in education financing, that we would have, that were achieved, particularly in the Philippines. The coalition in the Philippines was particularly successful in increasing budgetary allocations, for example, for alternative learning systems in the Philippines. And a lot of the work in building capacities of the coalition in the Philippines to achieve this have been through the support of the Real World Strategies program. There were also successful policy gains, for example, of the coalition in Cambodia, where they were able to successfully work towards the eradication of informal school fees, no? In the country, and steps are underway in terms of making sure these are implemented more robustly in Cambodia as well. Everyone knows about the landmark Education Act in India, and while of course there are several players certainly who have contributed in making sure that this became a reality, the coalition, the National Education Campaign Coalition in India has certainly been a key player in this, and the Real World Strategies program has been highly supportive of the coalitions mentioned in their efforts to achieve this policy gains.
Teachers themselves and teacher organizations need the support of civil society, especially the parent-teacher associations, the other groups, even politicians, and the press, and we have been able to work together, and this is one very important success story in this RWS initiative.
At the initial stage, our advocacy program is very poor because of they are not trained for our partners, and how to approach the education officer like this, we haven't. After the last year, the SBA was conducting the capacity building workshop for our partners. After that, I think they have formed that how to address the officers, how can we do the advocacy program.
We are recognized by the Department of Education, Ministry of Education, and other that were donor agencies. That is our that means valuable and strong, that means achievements.
RWS, it's kind of learning by doing.
With what you have, with inadequate and incomplete information, with less than perfect governments, with less than available and needed resources, and even from ourselves, with less than our full potential, and with less than perfect clarity about our goals, perhaps even with less than energies we are willing to invest.
And this we have learned very strongly in RWS, and therefore education advocacy should not be determined by projects, and we should be continuing to do this at the strategic level. Otherwise, if we stop, then we would be no different from government. We believe that education advocacy is a lifetime dedication, and whatever needs to be done to ensure that every child, every youth, every adult receives quality education is something that we have to work together through RWS.
Real stories, real people, real change.